And yes, we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Sally Thibault. This is the Isn't It Time Facebook live show today. And today we're talking how to turn criticism into confidence. Wherever you are, as you pop on this morning, let me know what it's like where you are, whether you can hear me actually. Just making sure my microphone is working okay. And my glasses aren't really clear today either. So as you pop on this morning, just say hi and let me know what it's like where you are. What a week it's been. Again, one of those other weeks where, what day is it? And I think this week too, for us here in Australia, the election's over. So it's kind of back to business now. Let everybody get back to business, no matter what happened, whether you were happy with it or not. It's time to create your own reality and get back on to it. So it's been quite a good morning, Deborah. Good morning. Quite a week. And you can sort of see, terrific. Thank you, Deb. You can sort of see where things have settled a little bit this week. Although I don't know where you are, but I know for many of the clients that I've been dealing with this week, it's been a very emotional week. And let me know if that's been happening in your area or whether you're seeing it or feeling it. That's been emotional, a lot of illness around. So it's one of those times of the year, I think, where, working on yourself, your inner self is so critically important right now with everything that's going on. So, the winter stuff, I've had a few clients who are ill. Was actually visiting an aunt yesterday in hospital who's not well. So looking after yourself, making sure you're really eating well, plenty of fluids, and of course doing lots of inner work. One of the things I mentioned too on this week's, a lot of the radio shows that I was doing this week, I was talking about, it's the winter, kind of winter a bit shake up the winter workout routine. Make sure you're still getting lots of exercise because exercise has been shown to help boost your immunity. So continue with that exercise. Morning, Helen. Lovely to have you here. And keep the exercise up, keep the fluids up, lots of herb teas if you find it difficult to drink water. All right. So today we're going to be talking about criticism and confidence. How do you turn criticism into confidence? And, do you have someone in your life that seems to just be able to say something to you that truly just gets under your skin and makes you feel criticized? Some people can just get over criticism. It doesn't even bother them. But for others, it's a very difficult thing to overcome. And what happens when we're criticized is we will end up holding ourselves back from doing things. Won't speak our truth for fear of being criticized. Won't step up. If you're a coach, for instance, oftentimes people hold them back from doing videos, for instance, because fear of criticism. And it can really hold you back. And it particularly, I find with criticism that it can actually impact on your body because the pain of the criticism really just stays with us for a long time. So what happens when we criticize, it immediately brings up, and many of you here I know are great followers of Brene Brown and her work in shame. Whenever we're criticized, it just immediately goes to I'm not good enough. Usually it's I'm not good enough, and that shame around not being good enough. The other thing that it breeds is the imposter syndrome. Now, we've done a couple of shows on the imposter syndrome, but I'll just go over the 5 aspects of the imposter syndrome, and that you might be able to see where you actually respond to criticism by falling into this parts of the imposter syndrome. Number 1, the first one is perfectionism. So the fear of criticism can breed perfectionism, where we constantly feel we're not good enough. So we hold on and hold back from doing things until they're perfect. And of course, all that does is just increase your stress levels and anxiety levels. And there's no such thing as perfectionism. So when that fear of criticism rises, it begins to sort of, I have to try and be perfect. and because that never works. Number 2, and again, let me know if any of these resonate you. Number 2 is the superwoman. Hands up. Superwoman. That fear of criticism. So we take on more and more projects. And when that fear of criticism is like, I'm never doing enough, I can't do enough. So we take on more and more projects. I remember when I was working at the school. Morning, Lisa. I remember when I was working at the school, I would just, I was actually sharing with a client yesterday. I'd be at the school probably 7:15, 7:30 most days. And sometimes I wouldn't leave there till 10 o'clock at night if we had an event on. But I would take on more and more projects. If something needs to be done, I put my hand up. Sure, I can do that. Yep, no problem, I can do that. And what happens was, it really was this fear of criticize that I'd go into that superwoman. The more I did, the less they could criticize me. Number 3 is the natural genius. And this is the type of person who's good at things, but they continue to strive to achieve. And they're the type of person that will never rest on their laurels. They will always keep trying to be better than what they're already achieving. You might have a child who's like, I've got a child like this. And she, no matter where she achieved, she always wanted to aim higher. So this fear of criticism or fear of not being good enough would actually breed this kind of, even I'm good at this, I've got to be better, never actually resting on that. Number 4 is the rugged individualist. Now, this is the type of person, hands up if you were one of this, that won't delegate, that holds on to everything. For fear that if I delegate, they're going to think I'm not good at it, that I'm a fraud. And, sometimes when we delegate, particularly, I'm a great believer in having someone come and do the work that you don't like to do. For instance, cleaning. I'm a great believer in having someone come and clean my house. I'm very happy with that. It doesn't bother me. But I know for many women, that kind of is this sense of, I'm not doing a good enough job. I could be criticized for not doing my job properly. I'm quite happy, as many of you know, my husband cooks, and I'm more than happy to say I don't like being in the kitchen. I don't want to be in the kitchen. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be criticized. I'm quite happy the fact that that's the role we play in a house. And of course, number 5, the last one, is the expert. And this is the type of person who continually aims to be better, never putting themselves forward. In fact, the expert hates to be called the expert. Now, all of these are bred by fear of criticism, that we're constantly aiming that we're just not good enough. We're just not enough. And that fear of criticism, what sits underneath it. The problem with the fear of criticism, and again, if any of those resonate with you, just let me know. But the problem with criticism is it imposter syndrome. Yep. Thanks, Deb. Exactly. Perfectionism, superwoman, natural genius, rugged individual, the expert. Brilliant. See if any of those resonate with you. Do you know, about 85% of high achievers experience the imposter syndrome at some stage in their lives, and it's all about not feeling good enough. Back to Brené Brown and her groundbreaking work on shame. I just think what she does is just extraordinary. And if you haven't watched her Netflix special, put aside some space this weekend to watch it. It is absolutely brilliant. Let me know if you've watched it. I just loved it. I'm sharing it with everybody. I just think she's phenomenal. Who would have thought 20 years ago that we'd have a documentary on a Netflix show that's about shame? Wow, how far we've come. And all to do with the work that she's done, of course. So rather dealing with the shame, because it's painful, we do one of 3 things usually. We'll try and eat it away, stuff down that emotion. We'll just eat it because it's painful. We can blame others, push it out on others. So we'll blame it away. I can't do this because they do. So we'll blame it away. We'll try and deflect it. And of course, the last one is fight it away when we get really angry, and just that anger turns internal. And it all sits underneath that shame about not being enough. So it gets trapped in our bodies, and it just registers this whole thing about I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. It hurts. Quite simply, it hurts. So, and I don't believe anybody is comfortable with criticism. I honestly don't. I believe that you can overcome it. I think in the 2 a.m. in the morning, the criticism sits really deeply. But it's how we choose to evolve through it that's the challenge. The best thing you can do when somebody criticizes you is to go to the place where it started. Where did the criticism start? When was the first time you can remember being criticized, and how did that make you feel? That's the key. And every time you're criticized now, instead of brushing it off, you are far better for your mind and your body. And that's what we're going to be dealing with today in the event, actually, the Reclaim Your Body event. We're going to do a lot of this work, is to go to the time when that criticism registers to you that you weren't good enough. There was something about you that wasn't good enough. And when you can get to the bottom of that, when you understand it and you can kind of sit back from it and go, aha, there it is right there, that's when it'll make all the difference. So it's not about, I don't like this whole thing about just getting over it. It shows up somewhere. It will always show up somewhere. I don't go there anymore. If something in your life isn't working, your body, your relationships, or your bank account, to me, that means you haven't worked on something. And you can hide all you want. I hit something this week again, always. Whenever something is not working, to go to the question. So go to the question, okay, what is it going on for me right now? What is going on for me? If Jerry criticizes me about something, it was something last week happened. I can't remember. Oh, yes, I was creating a landing page. That's right. And I was putting everything together and I said, can you proofread this? And he sort of came back and went, can you just put the full stops on? Don't you ever see about the full stops? And you know where it took me? Straight to grade 3. Straight back to grade 3. I don't know, writing an essay or something. And I was a great creative writer, but I remember the nuns telling my mother I wasn't very good at vocabulary, grammar. I wasn't very good at grammar. I was a great creative writer. I still am. But, I don't stop myself to put full stops on, whatever. But when he said that, it triggered something. So I went to go, and then I stopped myself. Wait a minute. What's this criticism triggering in me? And it went back to grade 3. It went back to grade 3 when I had to stop being the expressive, creative writer in order to check grammar. And of course, for those of you who grew up, in the 60s, you know how important grammar was in those days. God, Lord, it was beaten into us, literally, for many of us. And so it was going back to that, and that little girl in grade 3 that felt that what she wrote wasn't good enough. So it wasn't what he said, it was what he triggered. What's going on for me right now? What's triggering? When somebody criticizes, and they can say, I'm just giving you feedback, and you want to smack her in the mouth. So what's going on for me? What's going on for me? And what's it triggering? Find the trigger, and then it will be just like water off a duck's back. Then you can actually say, well, that's great. Thank you for your opinion. I'm just trying to think of something somebody once said. iPod. I can't even remember what it is now, but there was. I'll think about it later on. Thank you for your opinion, literally. But you want to measure when that happens that you're not got a trigger, not feeling it in your heart, not reaching for that chocolate bar, because that's where it sits. It all sits right in there. All right. Any questions? Oh, we're going to go straight into the tapping today on helping you overcome criticism, and recognizing what it is that causes it. It's really critical. If you can do that, then you can grow. If you can understand what the trigger to criticism is there and clear that, you can grow and evolve. But if you continue holding yourself back for fear of criticism, and of course that wonderful Brene Brown quote, which she quite the reason she wrote her book Daring Greatly, don't criticize me unless you're in that ring and you're bloodied and sweat and mud too. Don't even go there. But there's a part of you that has to go through the process to get to that point where criticism would just roll off our backs. All right. Let's do this, shall we? I want you to think of a time or somebody who criticizes you right now. Think of an instance in the last week, the last month even, of somebody that's criticized you, and just measure on a scale of 1 to 10 how that made you feel, and of course where you feel it. And I'm going to keep this quite general. I'm just going to talk about having a fear of criticism. And it makes me feel, I'm going to use the words fear of criticism, and it makes me feel that I'm not worthy. I'm going to use those. But whatever it is for you, you just use those, okay? And measure on a scale of 10, of course, where it is. All right. Even though I have this fear of criticism, I hate being criticized. It just hurts. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Even though this criticism hurts and it makes me feel unworthy, like I'm just not good enough. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Even though this fear of criticism holds me back in so many other ways. I'm always second guessing myself. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Here we go. This fear of criticism. When I was criticized, that really hurt. When I was criticized, that really hurt. I try to pretend it doesn't bother me, but I can feel it in my gut. This pain of criticism makes me feel I'm not good enough. This fear of criticism, I know it holds me back. Stops me doing what I want to do. This fear of criticism. What if they criticize me again? This criticism that hurts. Feeling criticized. Feeling not good enough. This fear of criticism. Okay, and take a deep breath and let it go. All right, so we're going to do a reframe round now. Again, for many of us, this fear of criticism is not just one instance. Okay, so it's not just one instance. And you may need to go back and look at these layers, find these layers. You may have grown up in a family where there was more criticism than love. And Maybe that was just the family you grew up in and they believe that that's how you became a better person. Maybe you remember growing up in school. It's very different now, I think, to the way kids kind of are used to doing drafts, essays and things at school, whereas we did, I don't know about you, but we didn't have that. It was like you just did it and then you got marked and that was it. So, go have a look around there. Was there something in there when you were at school that you never felt good enough? You never put your hand up. Maybe you did put your hand up one day and ask a question, everybody laughed at you or made you feel small. You want to go find all those things, because when you're triggered, that's where you want to go. Okay, when you're triggered, what was it? As I said before, when Jerry was in the full stops, it was like went straight back to year 3. Another round of tapping had to do to get that down. No, I don't care. Well, actually, now I put the full stops in. I'm aware of it now. Go back and we'll make my full stops in. But I had to get to the point where I wasn't being triggered. Oh, really, Deborah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's good that you got there, because that's where it it'll release and will really impact, as you know, on your business. Because you can't possibly be all you need to be and want to be and are deserving of having if there's that fear of criticism all the time. And of course, it's coming up for me again as I'm writing this book again. I'm going through again more stuff about this fear of being criticized and maybe I'm not right, and I'm stepping out on a limb with this book again, and maybe, so I have to, in order to really be able to write fluently, I have to go and tap on every time I feel that procrastination, and that's the fear of criticism will often come up. So, well done, Deb. Good for you. And just keep going through it. Go write it down. All those out. You need to get underneath. Shame is a big one. Not being good enough, not being worthy enough, never getting it right. There's lots of stuff in there. So go right into there, and you'll come out of the other side. Cool. Let's do a reframe round now. Deb, you can keep tapping all weekend, but when you get it down to a 0 of 2, of course, we'll do the reframe. All right. Deb, setting up a new business and hitting a few walls. It might have been just the thing for you this weekend. Yeah, hitting a few walls. And so, this is the key. If I can share anything with everybody on the call today, this is the key. Whenever that happens, whenever you want to do something, now, if you follow Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work, as he's saying, and Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say this, the minute you set an intention, all manner of opportunities will line up for you in order for you to make that intention a reality. And there's stuff that goes on the brain, confirmation bias, frequency of illusion, where your brain starts to see things now that will help make that happen. And then that confirmation bias comes up, the belief. So when your intention to create a new business, Deb, and those hitting a few walls, that's it. So it's the inner work. Spend time in there. Okay, tap. Just keep tapping. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to do a reframe round. Even though I can still sense a little of this fear of criticism, I choose to believe I am enough. Even though I know I've shied away from things in the past because I had the fear of being criticized. I know I am enough. Even though I know this fear of criticism has held me back in the past, I choose to step into the all of me. Tapping. I choose to believe I am enough. I am enough. I choose to believe I am enough. I am worthy of success. I choose to release the pain of criticism, to step into my brilliant self. I choose to forgive myself for holding myself back for fear of criticism. I am enough. I am worthy of success. I choose to overcome this fear. I choose to forgive all those who have criticized me in the past and release them to their highest good. I am enough. Everything unfolds as it should. I am enough. Take a deep breath and let it go. And of course, remember the power pose. This is great for when, maybe you've got somebody in your life that continually criticizes you. This power pose, hands on hips, even sitting in a chair or standing up, like think Wonder Woman, holding that pose and just saying the mantra, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough. I am perfect in where I'm at right now. I am enough. And holding that power pose, knowing you're going into that, can help ensure that you're not, taking that in. So again, this week, if you are interested, you want to really deal with this and deal with the pain of criticism, get over that in order to step up and do wonderful things in your life. I've only got a couple this week, I think. Calendar sessions, new clients coming on board this week. So I've only a couple of those available. So if you want to see how I can help you deal with criticism so you can step into that truly brilliant life, just click on the link that should be below. I'll just make sure it is below. And I'll do it right there. There it is below. So, and see if I can help you, truly step into that amazing person you really are, and to let this all go. Just let this all go. All right, everybody. Thanks for a great call today. Another great call. I'm just zeroing in now to the Reclaim Your Body weekend. So I will leave you here, and thank you again for being on the show today. I hope that you got a great deal out of it. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the Isn't It Time Facebook Live show. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Deb, for sharing as much as you did, and keep tapping this weekend. Fantastic. All righty. Terrific. See you all next week. Bye for now.